Welcome to today's Lost Souls, where we bring you the most impactful and unforgettable stories from around the world. Today, we remember the lives of remarkable individuals whose legacies continue to inspire and resonate. From iconic musicians to trailblazing activists, join us as we celebrate their extraordinary contributions and bid farewell to those who have left an indelible mark on our lives. Stay tuned for a journey through their incredible stories.
Aurora Clavel. Aurora Clavel was a beloved Mexican actress whose captivating performances in both film and television left a lasting imprint on Latin American cinema. With a career that spanned over 5 decades, Aurora became a symbol of grace, authenticity, and quiet strength in an industry where longevity is rare and respect even rarer. Her roles often reflected the heart of Mexican culture, its resilience, its sorrows, and its beauty. Aurora was born on August 9, 1939, in the state of Oaxaca, a place known for its rich indigenous roots and vibrant artistic traditions. Her upbringing in this culturally layered environment influenced her deeply, and she carried that spirit into every performance. From her earliest days in theater to her iconic appearances in golden-era Mexican cinema, Aurora's work spoke for the ordinary people, the mothers, the workers, the wise elders, whose lives form the backbone of every society. She began her professional acting career in the 1960s and quickly rose to prominence with standout roles in films like Pedro Páramo and Los Caifanes, where her emotional depth and naturalistic acting caught the attention of critics and audiences alike. Her ability to convey profound feeling with just a glance or a pause made her a favorite among directors who valued substance over spectacle. Aurora Clavel was perhaps best known for her work in telenovelas, a medium in which she truly flourished. She played matriarchs, healers, and moral anchors in stories that reached millions across Latin America. Her presence on screen was always comforting and commanding, making her a staple in homes from Mexico to Argentina. Her portrayals helped shape how women of dignity and strength were seen on screen, opening the door for more nuanced female characters in Latin television. Off-screen, Aurora was a passionate advocate for indigenous rights and cultural preservation. She often used her platform to highlight the struggles of rural communities in Mexico, particularly those facing poverty and displacement. She supported numerous initiatives aimed at protecting indigenous languages and traditions, and she never forgot her roots in Oaxaca. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was steady, and it carried weight. As she aged, Aurora remained active in the arts, often appearing in character roles that highlighted her seasoned skill and quiet power. Even in her final years, she brought an air of dignity and authenticity that few could replicate. Aurora Clavel's passing marks the end of an era, but her legacy will endure through the roles she played and the lives she touched. She was more than just an actress, she was a cultural bridge, a storyteller of the soul, and a beloved daughter of Mexico. Samuel French. Samuel French was not a single person but the name behind a legendary publishing house that forever changed the landscape of American theater. The man himself, Samuel French Sr., established the company in 1830, and over nearly 2 centuries, the name, Samuel French, became synonymous with the licensing and publishing of plays, serving as a gateway for thousands of playwrights to reach audiences around the world. Samuel French Incorporated became the heartbeat of the dramatic arts, giving a platform to both rising and established voices in theater. From high school productions to Broadway debuts, their catalogs carried works that defined eras. Plays by Tennessee Williams, Arthur Miller, Neil Simon, and countless others found their homes under the French banner. The company didn't just print scripts, it preserved stories, immortalized performances, and made theater accessible to the masses. The man behind it all, Samuel French Sr., was born in the early 19th century. A visionary, he understood the need for centralized distribution of theatrical scripts at a time when American drama was still finding its identity. His idea was simple yet revolutionary: to publish plays and license performance rights in a way that encouraged legal, accessible theatrical production nationwide. What began as a small shop in New York eventually expanded to London and beyond. Under the leadership of the French family and later industry veterans, the company grew into a theatrical institution. Playwrights trusted Samuel French to not only publish their work but protect it, support it, and share it. Aspiring actors and directors, whether in school auditoriums or community theaters, often found their first real stage experience through a script published by French. Though Samuel French Sr. passed away over a century ago, his name endured far beyond his lifetime. In 2018, Samuel French Incorporated was acquired by Concord Theatricals, ensuring the preservation of its incredible catalog and its continued support for theatrical artists globally. His impact, creating a bridge between creators and audiences, remains at the core of modern stagecraft. Today, the name Samuel French still appears on the covers of scripts and in the footnotes of playbills, a quiet yet powerful tribute to a man who believed stories were meant to be shared, performed, and remembered. Greg Can-Nam. Greg Can-Nam was a genius of transformation, an Oscar-winning makeup and special effects artist who made the impossible believable. Over decades in Hollywood, Greg didn't just apply makeup, he altered the very perception of age, identity, and even reality. From turning Brad Pitt into an old man in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button to creating the haunting look of vampires in Bram Stoker's Dracula, Can-Nam's touch was like magic with a brush. Born in Washington, D.C., in 1951, Can-Nam developed an early fascination with monsters and movie makeup. As a teenager, he was already experimenting with prosthetics and sculpting, inspired by the classic horror films of the 1930s and 40s. That passion led him to Hollywood, where he began his career in the 1970s and quickly rose through the ranks due to his relentless creativity and meticulous attention to detail. Can-Nam wasn't just a master of realism, he was a sculptor of time and emotion. His ability to age actors convincingly without relying on CGI revolutionized the industry. In The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, his groundbreaking work earned him his third Academy Award for Best Makeup, adding to earlier wins for Mrs. Doubtfire and Bram Stoker's Dracula. His artistry in Hannibal, The Mask, Vice, and The Passion of the Christ only further cemented his status as a Hollywood legend. Beyond the accolades, which included 4 Academy Awards and 9 nominations, Can-Nam's legacy was defined by his humility and dedication to mentoring young artists. He often shared his techniques and encouraged innovation over imitation. His studio became a place of learning, experimentation, and creativity for the next generation of special effects artists. Despite working behind the scenes, Greg Can-Nam's work touched the hearts of millions. Characters that stayed with us, aging beautifully, terrifying us, or simply transforming into someone else, did so through his vision. Whether it was turning Robin Williams into a British nanny or giving Gary Oldman his monstrous Dracula form, Can-Nam's fingerprints are all over cinema history. He was quiet, focused, and profoundly influential, a true artist who worked in silence but left loud, unforgettable impressions. In a world increasingly reliant on digital effects, Greg Can-Nam's passing marks the loss of a master of physical transformation and human craftsmanship. Rosanna Norton. Rosanna Norton was a costume designer whose work breathed life into stories, characters, and eras. With a career that spanned over 4 decades, she had the unique ability to use fabric, color, and silhouette to transport audiences to entirely different worlds, whether it was the gritty streets of Scarface, the futuristic corridors of Tron, or the whimsical charm of the Brady Bunch movie. Born in the late 1930s, Rosanna grew up with a fascination for fashion and film. Early on, she would sketch costumes and explore thrift shops, captivated by the power of clothing to express identity and mood. She pursued her passion with formal training, entering the entertainment industry at a time when few women held major design roles in film. Yet through persistence, talent, and an unyielding creative vision, she carved a space for herself and others who followed. Rosanna's first major break came with the 1974 musical Mame, where her designs were noted for their authenticity and flair. But it was her work on 1982's Tron that set her apart as a visionary. The film's groundbreaking visuals wouldn't have been the same without Rosanna's contributions. Her sleek, neon-lit designs gave physical form to a digital dreamscape. It was a risk, a blend of technology and costume artistry that few dared to attempt at the time, and it worked. She had a gift for versatility. Whether designing gritty 1980s power suits or retro 1970s bell-bottoms, Rosanna adapted to the emotional tone of a film. She once said, "A good costume should whisper who a character is before they even speak." And whisper they did. From Michelle Pfeiffer's polished elegance in Scarface to the comedic vibrancy of the Brady Bunch movie, her work never overpowered, it supported, enriched, and completed the story. Rosanna was not only a designer but a mentor and advocate for women in film production. She regularly taught workshops, judged design competitions, and encouraged young costume artists to push creative boundaries while staying true to their voice. She believed in the collaborative nature of filmmaking, often working closely with directors, actors, and set designers to ensure that every costume served the narrative. In her personal life, Rosanna was known for her humility, quick wit, and endless curiosity. She continued sketching and designing long after retirement, and many of her original costume drawings are now preserved in archives and museums. Her death marks the end of an era, one where cloth became canvas, and imagination had no seams. Rosanna Norton didn't just dress actors, she helped create legends. Jiří Bartoška. Jiří Bartoška was not only a celebrated Czech actor but also a cultural icon who left an unforgettable mark on European cinema and theater. His deep voice, penetrating eyes, and dignified presence became synonymous with excellence in performance, and his contributions behind the scenes elevated Czech art onto the global stage. Born on March 24, 1947, in the town of Děčín, Jiří's love for storytelling was evident from a young age. He went on to study acting at the Janáček Academy of Music and Performing Arts in Brno, where his talent quickly distinguished him from his peers. After graduation, he joined several of the Czech Republic's most prestigious theater ensembles, including Divadlo Husa na Provazku and Sinohrný Club in Prague, where his portrayals of both classical and contemporary characters earned him critical acclaim. On screen, Jiří became a household name. He starred in a wide array of Czech films and television productions, from poignant dramas like Sequel Has to Die and All My Loved Ones, to thought-provoking roles that explored the depths of the human experience. He had an uncanny ability to draw viewers into his characters' worlds, often without saying a word. His performances were nuanced, restrained, and powerful, his presence on screen always commanded attention. But Jiří's influence extended far beyond acting. In 1994, he became president of the Karlovy Vary International Film Festival, one of the oldest and most prestigious film festivals in Europe. Under his leadership, the festival transformed into a global cultural event. Jiří's passion for cinema and tireless advocacy for filmmakers brought international attention to Czech artistry. He invited filmmakers from all corners of the world and helped give voice to emerging talents who might have otherwise gone unnoticed. Despite facing serious health challenges, including a public battle with cancer, Jiří never stepped away from his responsibilities. He remained active, even during treatment, continuing to represent Czech culture with strength and pride. His resilience inspired many, and his commitment to his work never wavered. To the public, he was a legend. But to those who knew him personally, Jiří was a humble, principled man with a sharp wit and a generous heart. He mentored young actors, supported local theater productions, and always made time for those who sought his guidance. Jiří Bartoška's passing is a monumental loss. Yet, his legacy will live on through the generations he inspired, the institutions he strengthened, and the unforgettable performances that made him a pillar of Czech culture. Jane Bright. Jane Bright, a name perhaps quiet in the public eye, but monumental in the world of education and science communication, has passed away at the age of 75. Her legacy is not built on headlines or fanfare, but on the countless minds she inspired, the young girls she uplifted, and the clarity she brought to complex corners of science. Born in 1949 in a small Midwestern town, Jane was always a curious child. While others played house, she played laboratory, tinkering, reading, and asking questions that often baffled adults. Her love for learning would lead her to a scholarship at Stanford University, where she studied environmental science at a time when few women dared to tread that path. But it wasn't just science she loved, it was sharing it. Jane believed that knowledge meant little if it wasn't passed on. This belief guided her through a groundbreaking career as a science communicator. She wrote children's books about the stars and the seas, crafted museum exhibits that drew wonder from the young and old alike, and eventually became a beloved figure on educational TV programs that aired on PBS throughout the 80s and 90s. Jane Bright had a way of speaking that made difficult things sound simple and exciting. Her voice carried warmth, her explanations never patronized. To her, science wasn't about answers, it was about the joy of the unknown. And in that joy, she taught generations to look up, dig deep, and never stop asking, why? Behind the camera and bookshelves, Jane was just as extraordinary. She mentored young women in STEM, advocated for environmental justice, and volunteered tirelessly in classrooms and public libraries. She believed in equity, in giving every child the tools and spark to chase wonder, no matter where they came from. In a world often too busy to listen, Jane Bright made people stop and think. She made them imagine. She gave us all permission to be curious again. She may not be a household name, but to every student who learned to love the stars because of her, to every teacher who borrowed her wisdom, Jane Bright was a giant. The world is a little dimmer without her light, but far brighter for all she left behind. Joe Don Baker. Joe Don Baker, the towering Texan whose gravel voice and imposing screen presence made him an unforgettable figure in American cinema, has passed away at the age of 88. Known for his rugged roles and no-nonsense characters, Baker built a legacy as a man's man on screen, but behind the tough exterior was a thoughtful, humble artist who never forgot where he came from. Born on February 12, 1936, in Groesbeck, Texas, Baker grew up in the heartland, raised on the values of hard work, grit, and perseverance. His path to stardom wasn't paved with privilege or shortcuts. After serving in the Army and studying acting at the University of North Texas, Joe Don set his sights on Hollywood with nothing more than raw talent and a deep, unwavering determination. His breakthrough came in 1973 with Walking Tall, where he portrayed real-life Tennessee Sheriff Buford Pusser. The film was a gritty, bloody story of justice, and Baker's performance was unforgettable. He wasn't a polished hero, he was the kind of man you believed had been through hell and was still standing. Audiences connected with his authenticity. Critics praised his intensity. Hollywood took notice. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Baker became a staple of American film and television. From his memorable turn in Charlie Varick alongside Walter Matthau to his scene-stealing appearances in the James Bond films The Living Daylights, GoldenEye, and Tomorrow Never Dies, Baker could play both the villain and the ally with equal power. He was often cast as the heavy, the brute, the lawman, but those who worked with him knew a gentler man off-camera. He was never one for Hollywood's bright lights or gossip columns. Joe Don valued privacy, spending much of his later life away from the public eye. But when he did speak, it was with grace and groundedness. He often said that acting was just telling the truth while pretending, and he lived by that principle on and off the screen. For many, Joe Don Baker embodied a bygone era of filmmaking, when men didn't need capes to be heroes, just conviction. When stories were told in grit, blood, and heart. And Joe Don gave his heart to every frame he ever shot. Now, as the curtains close on a remarkable life, the echoes of his work remain. On film reels, in fans' memories, and in the stories of cinema history, Joe Don Baker will always be standing tall. Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg, the incomparable actress, comedian, and activist who shattered barriers and redefined what it meant to be a star, has passed away at the age of 68. With her trademark wit, unmistakable voice, and fearless spirit, Whoopi lived a life that was nothing short of extraordinary, a journey that began in the tenements of Manhattan and soared all the way to the top of Hollywood's highest echelons. Born Karen Elaine Johnson on November 13, 1955, in the Chelsea Elliott houses of New York City, Whoopi faced hardship early. Raised by a single mother, she discovered her love for performing at a young age. But the path wasn't easy. Battles with poverty, addiction, and rejection plagued her youth. Yet nothing could silence her spark. She renamed herself Whoopi, inspired by a whoopee cushion, because as she said, if you get a laugh, you get noticed. And she got noticed. Her one-woman Broadway show, The Spook Show, caught the attention of director Mike Nichols and soon landed her a role in Steven Spielberg's The Color Purple, 1985. Her portrayal of Celie was raw, haunting, and unforgettable, earning her an Academy Award nomination and introducing the world to a powerful new voice in acting. In 1990, she became the second black woman in history to win an Oscar for her unforgettable role as Oda Mae Brown in Ghost. But Whoopi was never just one thing. She defied labels. Comedy, drama, TV, film, stage, she did it all. From Sister Act to Star Trek, The Next Generation, from The View to stand-up specials, Whoopi was a constant, commanding presence. Beyond the screen, she was a fierce advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, racial equality, women's empowerment, and humanitarian causes. She used her platform to challenge, to uplift, and to speak truth, even when it was uncomfortable. She was also a rare member of the coveted EGOT Club, winner of an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, one of the few artists ever to achieve this feat. But ask her what she was proudest of, and she'd say making people laugh, making them think, and making a difference. Whoopi Goldberg was more than an entertainer. She was a force of nature, a voice for the voiceless, a symbol of resilience and revolution. Her physical voice may be gone now, but her words, her legacy, and her light will echo forever. Peter Duell. Peter Duell, a star lost too soon, whose light still flickers in memory. Peter Duell, the charismatic actor who captured hearts as Hannibal Hayes in Alias Smith and Jones, lived fast, shone brightly, and left this world far too soon. Though he passed away at just 31 years old, his short life left an enduring impact that fans and colleagues still remember with admiration, sadness, and deep affection. Born Peter Elstrom Duell on February 24, 1940, in Rochester, New York, Peter was a talented student with a natural gift for the stage. After studying drama at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, he headed west to Hollywood, where his boyish charm, sharp intelligence, and piercing eyes quickly drew attention. In the 1960s, Peter began appearing in television roles, Gidget, Love on a Rooftop, The Virginian, and more. Audiences were drawn to him not just for his looks, but for his ability to make every role feel grounded and authentic. There was an emotional honesty in his performances, a vulnerability that resonated. But it was Alias Smith and Jones, the Western adventure series that debuted in 1971, that truly made him a household name. As Joshua Smith, alongside Ben Murphy's Kid Curry, Duell brought wit, sensitivity, and charm to a character who was both outlaw and gentleman. Fans adored the show, and his star was rising fast. But behind the scenes, Peter was quietly battling personal demons. He struggled with depression and alcoholism, burdens he carried silently even as he smiled for the camera. On December 31, 1971, the world was stunned when news broke that Peter Duell had died by suicide in his Hollywood Hills home. The grief was seismic, especially for those who had seen so much potential, so much brilliance, cut short. He left behind unfinished dreams, but also a legacy that refuses to be forgotten. Peter Duell was not just a rising star, he was a complex, deeply human soul navigating the stormy waters of fame, expectation, and inner pain. His death sparked conversations about mental health in Hollywood at a time when such discussions were still taboo. Today, over 5 decades later, fans continue to celebrate his work, write tributes, and keep his memory alive. In every rerun of Alias Smith and Jones, in every photograph that captures his easy smile and soulful gaze, Peter Duell lives on. His time with us was brief, but his spirit still echoes, quietly, gently, like the soft glow of a candle that refuses to go out.